It's Sunday, October 13th. I had some questions about the model and how it works and how the whole system works. And it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, so I figured I would start back in the beginning. So what the model does is it attempts to determine when bid pressure will pick up on a stock. And it looks at, let me bring up a chart here. Let's just look at GameStop because everyone cares about GameStop. So what it attempts to do is it tries to find a value where bid pressure will become positive, which means basically there should be buoyancy in the stock. So the band that you see here, or as subscribers have been calling it, the channel here, this is determined based on the entire market. And as of right now, there are, I think, 8,500 or so stocks that are listed in the US that we track. And that means that this channel is going to be more dependent upon lower price stocks because there's just going to be more of them. So there's going to be a whole lot more stocks that are trading at $20 and are trading at $1,000, but there's going to be a whole lot more stocks that are trading at $5 than there are $20. So this band is weighted based on the number of stocks that match certain criteria. So the bid pressure is going to be slightly different for a stock of Tesla than it's going to be for a stock like GameStop versus a stock that's, a micro cap or a nano cap. But this band is sort of the general area. If this was actually a probability, you would see like a very, very, very thin tail, and then it would peak up like this, and it would come down really sharply. That's basically what this band is. We've set the ranges of this. It's not arbitrary. There's a specific reason why the EM0 band is where it is and the EM2 band break is where it is, but that's beyond what you guys need to know here. So basically what this shows is when we expect the stock on average to bounce. Like you can see GM, he basically bounced right off of EM1. If you go back and look, COVID presented a very rare and probably unique opportunity where we could actually test this on larger stocks, like for example American Airlines. So you can see American Airlines here. This is right when the COVID dip happened. It basically bounces slightly above where the EM1 line was. And what was another one? I think Carnival Cruise was another one. So Carnival Cruise actually didn't quite make it to the band there, but you get the gist. American Airlines was another one that was actually a big dropper. Here, American Airlines. I'm sorry, this is United Airlines, not American Airlines. You can see it actually went lower than the band is. And everyone cares about GameStop. So here's GameStop. You can see GameStop was actually traveling along the band for quite a while. We actually talked about this in 2019, that it was a potential short squeeze because of this. But so that's what the channel itself is. Do I look at the GameStop? Okay. All right. Now on the charts, we also have some various risk types. These are our stoplight values. These are quarterly determined risks in terms of short and long term. It's a relationship of debt to equity. So you can tell based on the color what the code thinks for the current quarter, previous quarter, etc. We have this blue highlighted area. This has to do with whether or not the stock has done any splits or reverse splits. So you can see that on the chart. And if this stock had some events on it, they would show up as bands. Now, to give you an example of what, I'm trying to think of what something that has an upcoming band would be. Let's look at this one. I think this has some events coming. Okay, well, it had one that just happened. So what another part of the code does is the code will read press releases that the company puts out, or that come out from regulatory bodies, or that come out from third parties. And it will ingest those PRs, and it will pull out any data related to any upcoming events. So in this particular case, there is an event, which is the phase 1-2 interim data, which is over here. And there was an event which is now in the past, which was trial data here. Okay, so you can see that in this yellow event, there was a pretty big stock move here. So this event, the code thought was risk, and that's probably why there was such a giant move here, is because it did well. And this event out here, the code actually thinks is not very risky. So how this works is when we ingest the PR, the code looks at what the company is saying and it says, oh, I've seen this before. And then it goes out and it determines the probability that similar events in the past have been positive or negative. Now, this doesn't mean that the code is going to jump up in this band. It just means that the likelihood that this is good news is higher than the likelihood that it is bad news. Whereas if it's yellow, it means that the likelihood is pretty even. And if you get to an orange event, then you're looking at the likelihood of bad news is greater than good news. Another one we can look at, which had a previous event here. So you can see here, there was this previous event which I thought was pretty likely to be bad. And as you can see, the stock ran up into it, but at the event itself, the stock collapsed. And that's what these bands here, these event bands, are telling you. Okay. Now, in some cases, the width is smaller. Then that just means that the code was able to digest a little bit more specificity. Sometimes you'll see overlap. That means that the code is found similar that may or may not be the exact same event before. But anyways, that's kind of the point of it. Now, how I use this is I have a custom Nova screen. I'll just run the default here, but so I have a couple of custom Nova screens set up, and what they do is they feed into an RSS system so that I get all of the RSSs, all of the feeds that come from these companies, and I go through those every morning. And I've been doing this for a really, really long time. So I can go through and read a feed and find out really quickly whether or not something I want to pay attention to or not. And what we do is we process those stocks. This is not up to date, but we process those stocks into various states. And with those various states, we have an algorithm that we use to trade. Like, so in certain states, we expect them to run into the event. In some states, we expect them basically to do nothing into the event. So this is how they're classified. Now, what we're working on now is we're going to take that system that reads the news and we're going to fine tune that in such a way that it's much more specific. The system right now requires you to have quite a lot of knowledge of how the market works and quite a lot of knowledge of what the trial structure is and who the players are, the investment banks involved and all that kind of stuff that we talk about, Chad, all the time. So what we're going to do next is we're going to break it up in such a way that you'll be able to get alerts that are what you're specifically looking for, basically the RSS system that I use, which sends me specifically only what I want to read. So you'll be able to get alerts for that. And you'll also be able to get a little bit more detailed reports as to what the code actually thinks is happening and is going to happen. It'll be sort of like the Substacks that I put out, but it'll just be automated. And Shaun and I just started working on this recently, but what we're going to do is we're going to develop this kind of in tandem with you, because how I use this versus how someone who maybe is new to trading would use this is not necessarily the same. So what we want is we want to get feedback from everybody as to what your process is and what it is that you need to know. Now, no system that we build is going to completely replace your brain. Like, you're going to have to know and do research into the companies that you're investing. You're going to have at least some interactions with Edgar. But we're going to try to make it so that the interactions that you have are more efficient than just going to Edgar. Because if you wanted to find something in Edgar, it can be quite a pain in the ass. Like, if you're looking for, I don't know, let's say the company that you're looking at, they just decided to lay people off. Okay? So you're looking for this string or a similar string for reduction. you would have to go through and read all these to first make sure that the previous releases here are the same as what you're looking at. And then you have to take the reporting date and the filing date and basically figure out how that affected the stock price, and then do it for a whole bunch of these to determine whether or not that's a stock that you want to trade or wait on. So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify all this, and we're going to give you a bunch of signatures that are dependent upon corporate actions or regulatory actions or trial results or whatever. And you'll basically be able to select the signature set of stuff that you want to trade. Like you want to trade stuff that's more day trade related, or you want to look for more longer term, or you're looking for a scalp or whatever. So you'll grab these signatures, and then you'll be able to, whenever a PR comes out for a company that you're looking at, just select the signatures, and it's just going to give you a bunch of charts that tell you historically what does that PR do to previous stocks, so that you can determine whether or not that stock is something you actually want to look at further, or if something you want to trade. And that's where we're going. That's our goal for, I guess, like the next 6 months or so, maybe a year. So like I said, we're going to do this all on YouTube. We're basically going to put out little short videos of what we're working on, and I'm going to give you guys the ability to tell us whether you think it's intuitive or not intuitive, or whether or not it actually matches with your workflow. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll try to make this as collaborative a process with retail traders as we can. So anyways, that's our update. Hope you guys have a good Monday and nobody has to work tomorrow. See ya.